If you are at mid-career or the halftime of life, the prospect of making business fun may sound like a dream come true. Well, that's the topic of today's discussion with Laura Couvillon, CEO of IntegrateUp, as she's an expert that helps businesses find business partners. So we find out how her company, as a recruiting company, makes business fun. So discover the system that she and her team use to make all of this happen, all while building into a fun company culture. So stay tuned. This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media and HalftimeSuccess.com, offering resources and insights for those at mid-career or the halftime of life. Explore our diverse categories, including courses, coaching, health, music, software, and travel. We're here to help you make this stage of life your best ever. So get our new articles, downloads, and podcasts by signing up for weekly updates at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Okay, hello, everyone. I'm so happy to have Laura here today. Thank you for being with us. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation, I'm sure. And I always like our guests to introduce themselves. I did a brief intro about your company, and you're different than just a headhunter. So you're just, not finding people just to work for you, but you're looking for like business partners in your line of work. You're a CEO of that company. We're going to talk about that. But can you give us, Laura, a little bit of your background? What equips you to do this? What drove you to do this sort of business?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Yeah. So my company is IntegrateUp, and it will be celebrating or almost close to 5 years.
Wow.
And it is a recruiting agency, and we help online businesses build dream teams. So we help all aspects of business, whether that's marketing, sales, delivery, ops, or finance. And it's been a process. My real background, my first 10 years in the corporate world I spent in conferences and trade shows planning large events for multi-thousands of people. I left that to stay at home with my kids for a few years. And then when I re-entered the workforce, I found the online world of online businesses, which suited me well because I wanted to stay at home. And through many iterations, many turns to the left, to the right, I found myself helping people find team members. And a partner of mine at the time said, I think we could turn this into a business. So we started offering it as a service. And here we are with a full-fledged recruiting agency. So my background was not necessarily in recruiting. Of course, over 5 years, I've gained a lot of skills, a lot of experience doing that. But it was just really a love for people, being a connector, being someone that, this person's great. Have you met them? Put them together, and process-driven. I'm operator at heart. So making the recruiting process very systematized in terms of mitigating as much risk for the business owner. So uncovering all the information we can. So here I am today.
Wow. And, being in the meeting and event industry, I mean, it's almost like a meeting planner. You are making events fun and looking at all aspects. That's a high stress job as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of aspects. I've worked with a lot of them of the business there. And so you are just in those connections. You're just really looking for that sweet spot of people working together. And your whole mantra is make business fun. We all want that. We want our businesses. And I mean, it is. I can never imagine retiring. People ask me that. Are you going to retire? No. Are you kidding? I love what I do. It's still work. Still work. That's a 4-letter word. I'll work. But it's what I love. And I know there's a mission to it. So can you describe, because you talk a lot about finding, a business partner, and how do you define that for when a client comes to you?
So I have a business partner. I'll back up there. So I co-founded IntegrateUp with a partner, and we spent close to 4 years together. We decided very amicably, she wanted to move on, and she had a new phase of life. So I found another business partner that bought her out. But Torian and I, the other co-founder, we operated the business together, day in and day out. And that had this level of fun because we were interacting, we were being strategic together, solving problems together on a daily basis. My new partner, we've been together for a little over a year. And he is not an operator in the business day to day. He's much more of a strategic partner. He does a lot of the marketing. So he does have, brings that to the table, but he is strategic guidance, and I'm able to talk to him, and we have set meetings, of course. So he offers insight through those means, and I'm really the operator the day to day with the team and pushing strategies forward. But I'm learning so much working with him, and that in and of itself brings a level of fun because new learning, new opportunity, so on and so forth. And in terms of the clients I work with now, I don't necessarily help people find business partners in and of themselves. I sometimes actually just got off a call. We're bringing on a director of performance marketing for an e-commerce business. And the hope is that this person will eventually end up with equity. So essentially a partner in the business. And there are certain attributes this person has to bring to the table for them to get that role. Of course, they're not going to be a partner from day one. So we do deal with that. But it's a lot more team member hiring. But I am a huge fan of business partnerships. Everything I've done in my life, it's kind of a quote unquote, I do better together. The solopreneurship is not the life for me. It's lonely. It's too hard. And I like to do things with other people, even if that's team members. I adore my team. I'm so thankful for them. And I think part of my downfall sometimes is I try to treat them as business partners because sounding board, but understanding they're not is also important.
Yes. Interesting. I speak a lot with solopreneurs. I am a solopreneur. Work by myself a lot. I have for years and years, but it's lonely I wrote a song years ago called Top Dog. It's lonely at the top, and you're, okay, I need to get out and be a little bit of an extrovert today. And I have people I can talk to, especially right now, one of my biggest advisors is my husband, which is a gift, so he's around a little bit more. He has a lot more corporate experience as well. So it's really helpful for me as a lifetime entrepreneur. So you are surrounding yourself, it sounds like, with those people that are complementary to you too, which is, I love that strategic guidance. And looking at your website, because you are CEO owner, but you have other owners on there. So I'm just wondering how you built your company and how you help others build their companies and how, putting those partnerships together. We'll talk about your whole, structure on how you do that a little bit, but in how you find those people, or how do you find out what they even need? And someone like me is a little bit different than somebody else, what they would need, that really doesn't want to, sit in their own little cubicle all day and that sort of thing. So yeah. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because you have, again, going back to my question, I know I probably gave you about 10 questions right there. So sorry about that. My mind just goes, everywhere. But first of all, you have several owners listed, and what your roles are there. You've got just one partner. So kind of describe that and how you have hired in your business and how you help others.
Yeah. So, I do just have one partner, and he and I are both the owners. So I'm trying to think where, you saw the other owners, but, it's just he and I as the two owners.
Okay.
He does have a partner in life who's also technically an owner as well. So I guess there's three of us.
Okay.
And we do make strategic decisions together, but operating decisions I make on my own. Before, it was a 50-50 partnership, and she and I made all decisions together. And helping people, and how I've built out my company, it can really be a formula driven process when building your team. And I think you can attest to this even working with solopreneurs.
Right.
You're working, you reach this cap of where you have no time left, you're burnt out, you're doing all these tasks. So what can you get off your plate? So doing a time study, or even you would know what the role could potentially be. For me, an easy role to get off was the delivery aspect. So bringing in more recruiters was important. And so that role formulated itself pretty easily. So brought on a first recruiter, and that opened up capacity for me as a CEO to do more outreach, new client acquisition, so on and so forth. And so it's just, I mentioned the 5 areas of business before, but sales, marketing, delivery, operations, and finance. And as a business owner, we all have our strengths. We all have our areas we love. And then we all have the easy areas we can get off of our plate. And that's where you want to start with your team building. In order to eventually sit in the CEO role fully, you want to get all of those areas off your plate. And you're just working with the leaders and stakeholders in those divisions. And that takes time. I'm not even there yet in my business. I still oversee some of those divisions. So it's really, that's kind of a step one for me when I work with clients of who they want to hire. It's dividing their business into those 5 areas and seeing where they have deficiencies, or they have heavy team, or they're very heavy in that area. And then going from there, because like you mentioned, every business owner, every business is very unique. The roles are similar, but the needs are different.
They really are. And I'm so glad you mentioned all those 5 areas. It's kind of interesting. As we speak today, I have a couple of very part-time virtual assistants, actually. One is in the US, one is not. And the one that's in the US has she's been going through the first part of another pregnancy and very sick. So I had to be patient on, so she said, I just needed, I need at least a couple weeks break, or, she took maybe a month and a half, almost, a little bit more than that break, because she just gets very ill at the beginning. If this is not her first, and, it's multiple kids. So she knew her body. So, but just thinking today, when you're saying put the easy things, I'm thinking either she's ready to come back on, or I need to find somebody for the things that I had her do, because now I'm just, you end up taking them on again, just taking them on. And it's stuff I don't need to be doing right now. So I think that's really wise advice in going through all of those different areas. And I love it how you're kind of a model for complementary skills within your business too, as you are building with different areas, which is really good. So,
yeah.
And you talk about also scaling a business. And I don't know what your process is and how you are actually scaling this sort of business, whether it's cold calling or what you're doing, but you're also balancing life as a wife and a mom. And that was one of your priorities, of course, in starting your own business. And I've always wanted that freedom as well. I didn't want to travel full time, period. I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot for work as well, but there's that part of it and how important that is. Otherwise, you can't buy back all of these years. So can you talk about that a little bit, how you are scaling the business and what your life is like as a busy wife and mom?
Oh gosh, isn't that a complex conversation for any mom? But
Yes.
It's not perfect, and it's definitely messy. But what I found works for me is I'm not my best mom self when those 2 things overlap. So summer is in particularly very hard for me when the kids are home. My kids are in their mid-years, between 8 and 13. I have 3 kids. And so summer is hard because they're home and I still have a business to run. I'm still working. And that overlap is hard because I do my best to put them in camps, get play dates, things such as that. And it works for us, but I find myself stressed. It's when they are in school, I'm able to have my dedicated working time, and that division is pretty clean. And then when they come home, here in a couple hours after our podcast, I'm going to turn into the taxi cab driver. I'm going to go pick up kids. go to sports practices, things like that. And that's when I'm not working and I'm focused on the family, cooking dinner, whatever it may be, spending quality time. Like last night, we played a board game. And then they went to bed and I did hop onto my computer for about 45 minutes. And so just in general, that time differentiator is very important to me because I am just not my best self for either side while they overlap. But I've also really done a lot of mental work around this because we all know the term mom guilt and, ignoring kids here, doing kids there, or doing things away from them here. But I've really leaned into, I'm setting intentionally an example for my daughter and my boys about what a business owner and working woman could look like. And I lean into that and I'm proud of that. And we talk about that. I don't hide it. Like this is what mom does. But then I also strategically make sure I'm spending the quality time with them. I mean, is it all day, every day? No, but I also spent time at home with them when they were little and I did that intentionally. So I do my best to keep my mind mentally sound, knowing this is also for them as much as it is for me. I mean, that my family is my number one motivating factor. So yeah, I hope that answered it.
Oh, wait, no, it did. I liked your term mentally sound.
Yeah.
So, balancing things. I had 3 sons, so 4 years apart. So it was like rough and tumble a lot of years.
Yeah.
But it was, no regrets. So balancing, you start just doing work at different times, either very early. People ask, even on a morning walk I went this morning, how do you get up so early? I said, such a habit now. I mean, it is, I've always done my work or it was late night.
Yeah.
Now I don't do late night because I'm just tired. So my body needs more sleep at this stage in my life.
But I mean, it's a great example. I think all women can relate to that. Even some of full-time jobs and not a business, but you have to, I get up early as well. Right. And it's just, you make it work.
You make it work and your body does adjust. So you just make sure you're, healthy. There's your drinking water. If you're watching the video, you can see. So, but it's very important to take care of our bodies because then we're better in everything that we do. Definitely. So that was a great answer though. And it's, it's messy. Of course it is, it's nothing's perfect. And I had friends that I'd walk into their house and I'm thinking, my house will never look like this. Oh my gosh, everything's just right. And, I try to do some things, but and still, I mean, sometimes it's just, I live on a property that we have, a lot of fruit and a lot of, trees and all of that. And so, sometimes it's just, the floor is sticky. So, there's just things, and I have a home office. So it's not always, I don't get to all of it. I just don't, because I like my work and I will continue. I work a lot. I love it. But you have to put in those priorities. And I hope some women, especially men too, because a lot of the men, you balance a lot as well. But, get off of this self-condemnation. Everything has to be perfect. And people will come over and you're going, oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that stack. That was there last week, whatever. So, but anyway, you got to let it go and some of that. So how I really want to now talk about the fun factor. I've written about this in one of my books too, because it was a strong business principle I had interviewed. I do a lot of interviews sometimes when I write books, and it was my very first book. And I interviewed a guy that he was partner in building a huge, very, very, profitable and wonderful shopping mall. Okay. So he had been behind that and he came up with, there were 3 main business principles. And the last one is keep the fun factor. I don't know. Well, that was interesting. One was watch the cash and, there was other things and the uniqueness, of course, but it, that was a really, really important. I've always remembered that. Keep the fun factor. Well, how do we do that when we got all these pressures and then you're going, okay, I need to scale this business because look who else is, now I have competitors. I've got all of this. So how do you do that? even in your work day, and how do you build it into your company culture?
Yeah. That's I don't know, are you familiar with the Enneagram
Yes.
person? So I'm a 7, and so
Okay.
fun is at my core. I'm motivated by fun. And that,
Okay.
it's defined so differently by so many people. So um business is, I've heard it described of as just a series of problems. D- One after another. That's all we're doing with our
Mm-hmm.
building our businesses. It's just problems, problems. And on a good day, there's just a few of them rather than a lot of them. And so if you view business that way, it can be stressful and it can be
Yes.
overwhelming. And then the cash flow. But if you can just agree with yourself that this is what I've chosen to do,
Mm-hmm.
so that pressure is always going to be there.
Right.
Now, let me enjoy the ride. And so what I do for myself, I have to layer in fun moments, and they're so small and so silly.
Mm-hmm.
One might include just like a Topo Chico. That's so silly, but
Mm.
and so you'll notice I finished it, but I got a Starbucks today. Again, I know that is silly, but it helps me get through meetings sometimes if I have a little
Right. Little
treat like
boost.
that, a
Mm-hmm.
little boost. I will build in walks for my day. I know people do that for health for many reasons, but
Right.
that's changing up the day.
Right.
Um, and then I often have just personal goals financially around vacations with the family that are fun, that drive me,
Mm-hmm.
motivate me to build my business. Um, and so I'm giving examples where viewers are probably like, that's silly or that's so obvious, but um, fun is obvious, but you have to make sure you enjoy it. Another thing
Mm-hmm.
I do, and this goes back to doing business alone. So my kids, where I pick them up for school, there's this park and a lot of moms congregate. And so I will go there. It used to be daily. This year it's 3 times a week. And I go dark. Nobody from my business can reach me because I'm there. My kids are playing and I am hanging out with friends, mom friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it provides community. It's truly the most delightful part of my day. It's so much fun, but I've built that into my day intentionally on purpose for so many reasons, but fun being a huge factor of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I in business, we have an unlimited PTO policy because I have a lot of theories around that, but one, I don't want my employees to be strategically, oh, can I do this? I can only take off a week here. I have one of my employees, she travels full time in an RV with her husband. And so she'll get to a new destination. She's like, I'm gonna take off Friday because we're going to um, whatever national park. I'm like,
Right.
absolutely do that. Enjoy it. You're only there for a week. And so
Yeah.
I really believe in that balance that
Mm-hmm.
we're not meant to just sit behind a computer all day. Every day you have to layer in that fun. And so that's one way I build it into the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if those were good answers, but I'm always seeking it out, and variety is important.
Yeah.
And I'm not just focused 100% on business.
Actually, that is really, I'm hearing you say a couple things too. That's a real takeaway from this for listeners is that you schedule it and it's intentional. So, if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen usually. And if it's not intentional, it'll get brushed by the wayside. And it's how I schedule travel as well. And it's why I have scheduled, actually, I've put together my whole work, doing it more virtually and being able to automate a lot of what I do. Um, I do a lot of, virtual podcasts. I do other speaking, all of that. And I do still some live music engagements when I can. And I'm working it around other travel. And part of the travel that I do now is just our kids. They're at different parts of the country, and that's part of our travel. And that is a priority. That's always been a priority. And then traveling, coming up, I'm gone for another, as we are, um, recording this, I'm planning ahead for another trip that's coming up and gone for, everything will be automated and I can do a lot of these things, just even on another side of the world. And so it's intentional and adding in all of that. And these are the travel years for my husband and I. We've watched parents pass and we've watched how there are so many that say, oh, I'm going to do that after I retire. I'm going to do all of this. And what happens is they have a health issue and they don't. They're never able to. So you have to take advantage. Your kids are this age once. You have to take advantage of doing that. And I like it that there's no guilt factors. You're going dark. You can just be with those other young moms. And I'm calling you all young moms now because I have grown kids, launched kids, thankfully. But there's that time of your life. It's healthy. It's good.
Yeah.
Talking about good things and healthy things, healthy mindsets, and not dwelling on just the negative. And so I see that as intentional and scheduled. And hopefully that will help some of the listeners that say, don't feel guilty about this. It's really, really important in add those little glimmer. Also taking a walk. That is not silly at all. Yeah. I take a walk. I go out in my yard and bring my clippers. When it's not here, it's like 100 degrees today. So I'm not going to go out and do that. I did that early morning or later at night. But it's going out and just having a total mental break is really, really important. Oh, that's great. Really great. Did you have anything to add to that? Otherwise we will, we're going to talk about culture, company culture, because I think you're building into just by what we just talked about. When you are hiring for others and as you have done that for yourself as well, a company culture is very important, but also the skills are kind of second that you're looking for. You're really looking for that company culture. So, and what part do core values play in all of that? Can you talk about that? And especially as it relates to your company, you're a recruiting company.
Yeah, that's really, I always tell people we hire first for culture and a close second for skill set because they have to be able to walk the walk. But if they don't fit in well with your culture, then it's not going to be a fit. I've found the clients we work for that have the strongest, most outspoken culture values tend to get the best candidates because it's just like marketing. It attracts and repels. So it repels away the people that don't belong and it attracts the people that do. And I have cultures for my business that are unique and specific, but I don't put those on any clients. We've worked for a whole wide variety, companies that are very faith-based, companies that are very astrology driven. We've worked for companies that serve moms. We've worked for companies that serve middle-aged men, bodybuilding, whatever it is. We take a hold of their cultures and we represent that when we are recruiting for that role. And because it's really important because the success of their company is going to be having a team united for a mission and moving things forward on a common shared values. And so, as business owners, we can't just invent culture values and say, poof, this is what we are.
Right.
They have to be discussed. They have to be shared. They have to be positive reinforcement when you see the action happen. And you have to put action behind the statements as well. And so a great example is work hard, play hard. That's one of our culture statements. It means exactly what it says, but that's an action I have behind that is unlimited PTO. Like take your time. Give me notice today. If you're going to take Friday off, do you have everything done? Great. Have fun. We also take the week off between Christmas and New Year's because recruitment, nobody's job interviewing during that time anyway. So why do we need to be on the computer? And so those are actions behind that culture statement that I show the team that I mean that. And I'm in there working with them. They see my odd hours, right? I work later than them, obviously, because I take off some time during the day and I talk openly about that. But we all work hard and then I want them to take that time off.
That's great. And gives them the freedom. So by you disclosing what you do, definitely. It's exactly what I've done for years, and I'll come back into my home office. It's hard to leave it sometimes, when you're working on things. So, and there's that wonderful principle is if you play together, you stay together. And there's a very important principle to that of just, doing things together and how you build those relationships and just the ability to understand where each other is in their journey and their life and, and asking about their trips and about, it kind of opens up your world a bit. And it's not all about just another project to get done. So that's very, very important in work and in social aspects that that we have. I have to schedule in social aspects. So for me, because I work by myself a lot, there's not, I've had people in my office working for me before, but it's, and I've had interns as well. But I'm really better by myself. So, and now there's just so much freedom in being able to work, remotely and virtually. I can, with the Google Drive and all of that, we can communicate almost everything now.
I know.
And it's really, really amazing technically. That was not in place when I was in college. I had never heard of an entrepreneur. Didn't realize I was one. Anyway. When you're talking about, your recruiting company, I want to just talk about just a little bit more of this before we talk about what's next, that you're helping to build teams. You have these personality tests, and do you go on the Enneagrams? Do you do that? And what do you do to find the right candidates? So if I was to come to you as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, I have a couple of virtual assistants, but if I wanted, something more, so how would you go about, you said you work with entrepreneurs, but also with other small business type. I have a small business, but it's just a little bit different than most. So how would you go about finding the candidates?
So we work together and really define the role. We then write the job description, specific to the company culture, specific to the needs of the role. We layer in personality tests when and where appropriate. So if it doesn't mean anything to you as the business owner, then it's not worth layering in. But I often, 75% of the time, the company business owners I work with, they ascribe to something specific. Enneagram, DISC, Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths Finders. And so we'll layer that in. And we always use that as a supporting role, never the lead, because we don't want to eliminate. People are so much more dynamic than a personality test, but it can be helpful in supporting and understanding the person on a level you can't get to know them just in applications and interviews. And so that's what we'll do in the process when working with a company in terms of the personality tests.
Good. So, you have a system. That's part of the system of you writing the role, finding out what the company needs, and you go about doing the interviews. So, you have a pretty large database of 11,000. You got a pretty good database of those that are looking to be partners and looking for partners and in business. So what other little parts of that, without giving away all your trade secrets, do you kind of go through, and how you found those to be very important? Because if there are those that are thinking, well, maybe it would be good. What do I consider?
Yeah. So our process, we really treat it like a sales funnel and funnel people through it. Now we'll do inbound recruiting where we put up a job description, and we have our list of over 11,000 people working specifically in this space. And of course, we'll advertise on the LinkedIns or wherever is appropriate. But we also do outbound recruiting where we will go out and hunt for the right person and that are at specific roles, and we'll invite them to be a part of the process. So there's both of those aspects to get people in this funnel. And then we do an application. We do a very tailored skill set to the company and role. That's very specific because every role is a little different. Companies are very different. And then, we do interview. We'll layer in test projects or presentations when and where appropriate. And our companies we work for, when we present candidates, it tends to be about 6 or 7 pages long of all the information. So we really try to uncover all the rocks, mitigate as much risk. So once the CEO or whomever, the hiring manager is reviewing the candidate, they just have to make a decision based on culture, because we already know they fit. And so that's really the process.
Yeah, there's nothing like being with the wrong partner. Doesn't matter what part of life you're in. So that's really, really important. And integrity is important. And the willingness to fail too, and to give people the benefit of the doubt. And if things have happened before, but to be able to move on, it's very similar to a relationship, a marriage relationship. I mean, you've been, I don't know how many years, but my husband and I, we've 44 years, 44. But yeah, it's, I look at it now, I'm thinking, I don't feel that old, but there we are. People ask how old your kids are, it kind of dates you. So, but anyway, it's, I think there's so much of that that's related just to that. And it's really, good principles, just solid, life principles that apply in so many areas. So what's next for you and for IntegrateUp, for the business, for you personally? Are you planning on staying here? Are you just going to do this the next 20 years? It's just your passion and you want to build this, and are you going to be the Cliff Bar of just, not being bought out and just, really going it because you're mission driven? What are you thinking?
So for the short term, we're just in building mode and scaling mode. So for the next 3 to 5 years, we're growing our client base. We're about to launch a physical product that will help people determine who to hire next. And bring in more clients. But we're also looking in the technology space of how to create a software that's helpful for our clients. So expanding business that way. So we're building and expanding and scaling right now. Now beyond 3 to 5 years, I feel like you build a business either to pass it on or sell it, because what else are you going to do with it? Eventually, someday, it's so. We have talked about long-term selling it potentially, but right now that's not on the table. It's just building and focused on that.
Good. Yeah, you wonder what's going to happen at some stage. Are your kids going to want to take it over? A lot of them don't.
Right.
A lot of this happens in farming and other businesses. This exit strategy. What do you do if you don't? And if you've not prepared your kids for something like you're doing, so it's and that's it. You can you have to start thinking ahead for that. A little bit. And I'm starting to think about a little bit because of just the amount of product I have. And so, okay, what do you do with it all?
Yeah.
So yeah,
so
definitely.
True.
Yeah, it really is true. So, well, that's great. Well, what is your, I like you to verbalize, even though in the show notes, everyone will have all of your information, for IntegrateUp and for contacting you. But can you verbalize some of that now for those who are listeners and how to reach you? And we've talked about pretty much what your business is. So, but how can they best reach you and find out more about IntegrateUp?
So the best way is to my website, integrateup.co. You can also reach me. I'm on LinkedIn. It's my name, Laura Couvillon, or in Instagram, IntegrateUp Online. Good.
IntegrateUp Online. Great. Well, thank you so much. And for all of you listening, many of these I put out articles, or at least I include them in newsletter. Comes out twice a week because I have bonus podcasts coming out. And so basically you'll hear about all of the podcasts and not to miss a single one. And so it's a very easy sign up. You can unsubscribe anytime, but goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter, or other websites that you can get a lot of online programs. And we're launching it comes out, halftimesuccess.com with all sorts of affiliates. So being a part of that group that's very applicable for mid-career, halftime of life. So I hope you all check that out. And thank you for being with us, sticking with us the whole time. And thank you again, Laura, for being with us today. It was just an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.